Hello and welcome to this news hour. I'm Daniel Kasahun with the news. President Saleh Zode attended the conference for international support for Sudanese transitional government organized by Paris. The president has brought to mind the Ethio-Sudan long-lasting strong ties. She also said the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is a source of cooperation among the riparian countries. The electric power generated from the dam can benefit the entire region, apart from providing the much-demanded electricity at home. She further stressed that the Ethio-Sudan border dispute must be resolved through negotiation only. The participants reaffirmed their willingness to support Sudan's debt being addressed under the heavily indebted Poor Countries Initiative, an essential condition for enabling Sudan to restore access to the external financing needed for its development. To enable Sudan to fulfill the essential condition for its debt relief, namely the repayment of all its multilateral arrears, France announced that it would provide the bridging loan of $1.5 billion to repay Sudan's debt to the International Monetary Fund. Sudan can see the progress largely for unprecedented role of Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. If Abiy could not help the parties reach agreement, the country would have entered civil war. In another development, the Minister of Finance of Ethiopia, Ahmed Shide, met the Director General of the Treasury, Emmanuel Moulin, at the Minister of Economy and Finance of France. Moulin, who also chairs the Paris Club Secretariat, briefed the minister on the status of the Common Framework for Debt Treatment Beyond Debt Service Suspension Initiative, which is designed to address fiscal constraints faced by many countries as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Ahmed, during the discussion, also explained the importance of having timely and sustainable financing support for African economies to ensure the protection of socio-economic gains made in the past decade. Both the Minister and the Director General agreed to strengthen the collaboration between the two countries in several areas and, in particular, the need for creative financing solutions to continue the development aspiration of African countries. You are watching live transmission of Addis News Hour. Ethiopia has taken bold leadership in climate action as part of its Green Legacy initiative. This year, the East African nation will plant 6 billion trees to help fight the effects of deforestation and climate change. Not only this, the country will also send an additional 1 billion seedlings to neighboring countries to start a regional effort towards a green Africa. We have learned this while the Premier Abiy Ahmed launched the 2021 edition of Green Legacy Initiative yesterday. Aula Teklamariam has more.
In the third phase of Green Legacy Initiative, Ethiopia intends to plant 6 billion seedlings on 1.9 million hectares of land throughout the country. The initiative includes Ethiopia's neighboring countries planning to see 1 billion seedlings in the nations. Launching the program, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed articulated the importance of nurturing tree planting in different areas of the country.
Green legacy ለኢትዮጵያ ስንል ቤታችን ቢሮአችን ከባቢያችን
When we say green legacy for Ethiopia, we mean all our residences, our surroundings, our offices, and our cities deserve this image. As Ethiopians, our lives are strongly intertwined with trees and forests. If you look this area, for example, it is all made of local products invested by local knowledge. We did not import anything for this to happen. We did not invite any foreign expert to help us. We rather did it by ourselves. So, we can build the entire nation in this way.
The Premier underscored that Ethiopians are well known for translating their words into action once they promise.
What we learn from this project intensifies the long-lasting tradition of Ethiopian culture. If all Ethiopians unite and come together, they successfully meet their goal.
The Prime Minister also expressed the need to plant trees for addressing various regional and global conflicts to all natural resources.
በዓለም ላይ ያሉ ግጭቶች አብዛኛው ሊባል በሚችል ደረጃ
Conflicts we see across the world are because of natural resources. One way or the other, natural resources are the cause of conflicts. If we see the current conflicts and displacements in Ethiopia, it is natural resource-driven conflict. The fight is to own a fertile land. So, if we develop all parts of our country, we can minimize conflict. Planting trees is just a matter of life and death issue for us.
He further calls upon all Ethiopians to actively participate in the third round of Green Legacy Initiative as they did in the last two rounds.
This is this news hour. Ethiopia is undertaking fruitful and effective diplomatic activities in promoting the fair stance on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam to the whole world. This came at the joint consultative discussion held by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Office of the National Council for the Coordination of Public Participation to the Construction of GERD. Haftam Ashagri reports.
The effective diplomatic activities made by the Ethiopian government falsified the stubborn and water supremacy move of both Egypt and Sudan, it was learned. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia and Office of the National Council of the Coordination of Public Participation to the Construction of GERD jointly held consultative discussion with opposing political parties about the construction of the flagship project. Speaking on the occasion, Ministry of spokesperson Dina Mufti said Ethiopia is undertaking effective diplomatic activities to solve the GERD dispute under the umbrella of the African Union.
We have a recent position about GERD. Various countries have recognized the AU-led trilateral negotiation process. The U.S. Special Envoy also accepts Ethiopia's position about trilateral negotiation. We are not losers, rather our position prevails. Even they understood the second water filling plan of Ethiopia.
Recently, the government of Ethiopia had discussed with representatives of international institutions so as to bring reasonable and equitable water share agreement. Ibrahim Idris, who is the former diplomatic and GERD negotiator for his part, said Egypt and Sudan have been tirelessly working to use Nile River solely over the past many centuries.
ኢትዮጵያ ያለች ግብጽ ደህንነት የላትም የሚል እምነት አላቸው They have legally stated to capitalize on their water supremacy. They are also aggressively working to magnify the advantage by using higher institutions. Egypt is targeting to control water supremacy against Ethiopia. They have also stated this in their policy. The 2014 Egypt's constitution, Article 44, clearly stated the water supremacy of Nile River.
ዋናው የህገ መንግስቱ መሰረት ግብጽ በውሃው ላይ ያላትን ታሪካዊ መብት የማረጋገጥ ነው።
According to Ibrahim, the lower riparian countries have constitutionally approved and preserved their unfair historical right to utilize the Abai River as well as overtake Ethiopia's water right. He also said Egypt and Sudan are not primarily interested over good, rather they are using it as a hostage to block the nation's right to utilize its own resource. Further cooperation is needed to fortify the stubborn practices of Egypt and Sudan by providing all necessary support to the finalization of good, it was stated. Gideon Asfar, who is Ethiopia's good negotiator, for his part stressed the mega project is expected to solve electric accessibility problem in the country.
የኢትዮጵያ አሁን 73 ኪሎዋት አወር በነፍስ ወከፍ በአመት ነው የኢነርጂ ኮንሰምፕሽናችን.
Ethiopia consumes only 73 kilowatt-hour per year. This number is showing the average of higher and lower electric consumption, but every Egyptian consumes 1,800 kilowatts-hour per year. This is the only reason that the government of Ethiopia is constructing the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
According to Gideon, the electric access of Ethiopia counts only for 73 kilowatt-hour per year from the minimum international standard of 500 kilowatt-hour per year. Information is showing that Egypt and Sudan have 3.45 and 1.8 million hectares of irrigated land by using Nile River solely over the past many decades respectively.
Meanwhile, in a telephone conversation with ETV English last night, spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Dina Mufti, expressed Ethiopia's successful diplomatic endeavors in promoting the fair stance of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam to the whole world. Let's take a look.
Yes, from day one, from the day of the inauguration of this dam, Ethiopia has been telling the rest of the world the fact that it has the intention of, in fact, strengthening its energy sector, but it doesn't have any intention of hurting the downstream countries, that is Egypt and Sudan. Ethiopia believes that Nile is a source of cooperation. It should not be the source of confrontations. That is what Ethiopia always believes. That is why we have been talking about various initiatives, various activities that instills confidence in downstream countries. The current negotiations, like trilateral negotiations, the earlier initiatives like creating various mechanisms whereby the downstream countries will clearly understand the impact of this dam are part and parcel of what Ethiopia has been doing. Ethiopia is confident enough about the fact that what it does is not to hurt others, but simply to take care of its economic progress, and rather to also engage others because they can benefit from the construction of the dam.
Ethiopians and people of Ethiopian origin living in Washington, D.C. called on some international organizations and countries to stop unduly pressuring the Ethiopian government. Kasan Chane presents the story as follows.
Ethiopia is a sovereign country. The government of Ethiopia had all the right.
Ethiopians and Eritreans living in Washington, D.C. have made a rally in support of the Ethiopian government on various carbon issues. Participants at the rally said Ethiopia had the right to maintain its territorial integrity, defend itself from aggressors and dictations from third parties. To do otherwise to a sovereign state should not be acceptable.
This issue is not about political party or government or something else. It's about a matter of national pride, because the Western and some American people are meddling in the internal affairs of Ethiopia.
የአሜሪካን መንግስት እጁን እንዲያነሳ የኛ ገቨርንመንታችንን እንደግፋለን። Ethiopia is a sovereign country, so we prevail. That's it.
የውጭ ኃይሎች ከፍተኛ ጫና አለ የአሜሪካንም ጨምሮ
There are foreign bodies including the United States of America with high interference over Ethiopia. So being hand in glove, we should forward Ethiopians' endeavor and strive for the nation's prosperity, indicating our strong support for the Ethiopians.
Referring to the State Department's recent statement on Ethiopia, they said it was influenced by unsubstantiated TPLF claims and sidelined the historical relationships between the two countries. They further said the statement has undermined Ethiopia's sovereignty and did not positively contribute to the peaceful coexistence of people in the country. Regarding the Grand Ethiopian Prince-Amsterdam negotiations, they called on the United States and the international community to encourage Egypt to work for the common good of the tripartite. They said they will put the necessary effort to ensure that their country and the government overcome current challenges and hold peaceful national elections. They also underscored that there should not be any negotiation with extremists and called on the people of Ethiopia to stand together to solve their problems through their own initiatives.
The Ethiopian Week Festival has kicked off in the capital at Friendship Square in the presence of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and high-ranking officials. The leaders of regional governments, members of the diplomatic community, and invited guests have attended the National Feast of Ethiopian Week. Welcoming the participants, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed reiterated commitment to promote cultural and historical values of the country in line with fostering the tourism industry. Led by the Prime Minister, participants of the celebration, including the dignitaries and diplomats of various countries, have visited several heritage representing cultural values of the regional states showcased at the event. Welcome back. You are watching at this news hour. The Ethiopian Media Authority on Tuesday issued a written warning against the Associated Press for violating the country's media law. The authority, in its press briefing, firmly warned representatives of international media houses that it will revoke licenses and shut offices if they keep reporting misleading information. Solomon Danya has more.
The Ethiopian government has been repeatedly expressing dissatisfaction over reports of some international media houses on critical national issues. The government has time and again tried to refute disinformation reported by some international media houses about the military oppression in Tigray and the upcoming general elections. Fed up with the inordinate reporting on the side of international media houses, the Ethiopian Media Authority Tuesday issued a written warning to the Associated Press for its misleading report on the extension of the 6th general elections Ethiopia is set to hold.
የኢትዮጵያ ምርጫ ቦርድ ያለበትን የሎጂስቲክስ አቅርቦት ችግርና
The Ethiopian public has been duly communicated that the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia has extended the upcoming general elections due to logistical and technical uncertainties. Contrary to this fact, the Associated Press reported the matter as if the election was extended because of the conflict in the state of Tigray and the resignation of opposition political parties from the election. This is an absolute violation of country's media law and journalistic disciplines. Thus, we issued a written warning to the media house and formally requested for explanation.
ከጋዜጠኛም ስነ ምግባር ከራሱ ከሚዲያው ስታንዳርድም የሚቃረን ሆኖ ባስላገኘ ነው።
The director also pointed out that his authority may revoke licenses of individual reporters or shut offices of media houses if they do not operate respecting the law of the land and report the truth.
የዓለም አቀፍ መገናኛ ብዙሃን 129 ቋሚ ወኪሎች አላቸው።
There are 129 representatives of international media houses in the country. So, there is no way that they could not find any information unless they intentionally distort facts. I would like to remind them that we will revoke licenses or shut offices if they keep reporting misleading and unfounded information about any issue in the country.
ከመከልከል ወይም እስከ መውሰድ የመገናኛ ብዙሃን በሀገር ውስጥ የሚኖራቸውን ኦፊስ ወይም ውክልናም እስከ መከልከል የሚያስገድድ እርምጃ ሊወሰድ እንደሚችል ማወቅ ይኖርባቸዋል።
It's been widely observed that some international media houses has been toiled to sensitize issues happening in Ethiopia and mislead the international community to satisfy their particular interests.
This is Addis News Hour. Ethiopia has finalized preparations to fairly as well as freely conduct the 6th national election. Persons with disabilities, the youth and women who have not yet achieved equality in the election process. Following this, the Ethiopian Human Rights Organization has organized a discussion forum assessing the 6th upcoming general election. Everyone in the nation has to be provided with the skills and knowledge necessary to improve the youth, women and persons with disabilities participation in electoral processes. Political parties, civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, as well as the general public should properly understand that they must consider why persons with disabilities, the youth and women's participation is crucial to the electoral processes and democracy. It was also discussed that the processes and implementation of the election by the parties need to be improved ahead to conduct a free and fair election.
wageni mwakaribishwa Kenya yetu, hakuna matata.
Longolongo nyingi. Yahaya unaishi wapi?
The name again. Mawenzi. Mawenzi.
Maskani yako Kinondoni, nyumba namba haijulikani. Yahaya Yahaya unaishi wapi?
Several African leaders are in Paris for the Africa Finance Summit. The summit comes a day after President Emmanuel Macron announced the cancellation of Sudan's French debt of about $5 billion in an effort to support the country